Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vincent from Olympus, Singapore, and I'm the product manager for this XRF and XRD product. And today we have a special guest, Maxim from Eco Trade Group. He has been in the car catalyst industry for more than over 10 years. So today he will be sharing with us some of the tricks and some of the information about car catalysts and how portable XRF can be used for this industry as well.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, today we're going to talk about XRF analysis in the car catalyst recycling industry. Please note that this webinar will be recorded and available on Olympus website, I believe, after. Okay, to start with.
To mention something as well, in the event, during the webinar itself, if you do have any questions, please feel free to enter them into the Q&A chat box that you can see in the Zoom feature as well. And there is a live subtitle transcription for this webinar itself. So if you would like to enable the subtitle, you can always go to the More button and then activate the subtitle. Okay, so today we will be covering, these are the agendas that we'll be covering today. So Maxim will be sharing with us section 1, what is auto catalyst, section 2, challenges in auto catalyst recycling. Then I will be sharing on portable XRF for auto catalyst recycling. And lastly, Maxim will be sharing with us the practical use of the Vanta portable XRF. And finally, we'll go into the Q&A. So if you have any questions in the midst of the webinar, please write them in the Q&A section itself. Okay, Maxim, I'll pass it on to you.
Yep. So to start with, a quick reminder of what's a auto catalyst and the different types of car catalyst. The car catalyst is a device between the engine and the exhaust system of the car that is designed to reduce harmful emissions from the engine. It's coated with PGM, platinum group metals, and it has been introduced in the early 80s to be the mainstay of environmental protection in the automotive industry. Because it's a reliable device, because it's effective, and it is now required on every and each new vehicle. The types of car catalysts. So you've got the main catalyst, the ceramic catalyst, that is basically a honeycomb and coated with platinum, palladium, and rhodium. You'll find it typically on petrol, benzene, gasoline, engine fuel. You've got the diesel particulate filter, DPFs, that is made of cordierite or silicon carbide traditionally. And these DPFs are obviously on diesel fueled cars. And you have the foil catalyst, the metallic catalyst, historically on sports car, but not only. And there are many catalytic converter manufacturers in the world, hundreds of them. But what's important to reminder when you look at this open catalyst is that the coating of precious metal is not always distributed equally within the honeycomb, whether it's a ceramic, DPF, or metallic catalyst, which makes the analysis, which can make the analysis challenging depending on how you use the device. The PGMs in car catalyst, how much PGMs are in there? Well, it really depends on the regulation of the country where the car has been manufactured. But what's important to reminder is that it's much more PGMs that you'll find in nuclear fuel in terms of proportion. So if you have a few grams of platinum, palladium in catalyst, you'll have only a few ppm of PGMs in 1 kilo of ore. So for the same quantity, you'll have much less PGMs in ores, which makes the recycling of automotive catalysts with a very high extraction efficiency. It's cheaper, and it has 50 times less carbon footprint. With the Euro 7 emission standards and the recoveries of economies after COVID-19, we expect the demand of PGM to increase next year, and of course that would be a good news for us as catalyst collectors and recycler. Now I'm going to talk about the car catalyst recycling stages and its challenges. In terms of collection and recycling. So basically, for us as recyclers, when we source material, we gather this material, and then it goes into a decanning process where we separate the metallic shell from the actual material, from the monolith, ceramic, the DPF, and it goes then into a milling process. There are different milling processes in the industry, ball mill, hammer mill, chain mill, depending on the technology, the quantity that you're processing. And then it goes into a sampling line where you want to get a representative sample of the batch that you are processing. And once you have this batch processed, it is usually sent to a smelter or a refiner for leaching and refining. So the stakeholders in the industry traditionally are the generators, the waste generators, so the ones that are getting the material from their daily business. There are garages, scrap yards, alloy recyclers, for instance, and they sell the material to collectors. Collectors are the one that goes around in the street around these businesses to negotiate and source material from them. Collectors can be processors. Also, processors are actually recyclers, like us at EcoTrade. We collect and process material. We recycle large quantity of auto catalyst, and we deal with refineries where the material ends its road. So what are the main challenges as collectors? Well, the thing that we have observed with our experience is that when you buy material from your suppliers in the street, for instance, and you show an pXRF device, it increases the confidence of the seller, of the supplier, because he can see that you are professional and that you are actually buying material with some data. And for some markets in Southeast Asia, such as Thailand, where there is significant quantity of powder or crushed ceramic, because for some reason, some business owners decant themselves their material, it increased the confidence significantly. The second thing that would make an asset having the device with you is that you can check when material are actually coated or not. Sometimes some car catalysts are not coated at all and do not contain any PGMs. And by doing a quick screening, a quick shot on the material, that gives you the ability to know if the material is coated or not. I'm thinking of some DPF that you find in Europe, for instance, from certain brands like Peugeot, Citroën. Most of their DPF is not coated. So if you don't know it, then you can buy material like that do not contain PGMs, and then it becomes it becomes a cost for you. Right, and another point is that since you can check if it's coated or not, you can also have a rough idea of the content of PGMs. So as I said previously, the distributions of PGM is not equal within the monolith, but still, if you give a few shots into a batch of powder, for instance, it can give you a rough idea of the material quality. And then another use of XRF device as a collector is that you can build your own catalog instead of relying on categories like they used to do in the US in the past, or instead of relying on your own intuition, which can be good with experience, but which may mislead you sometimes. You can build your own catalog, as we did also in our company, and that by analyzing catalysts one by one and building your own library. This is a good thing and a good asset to buy more carefully and efficiently. And then what are the main challenges as a recyclers? Right. So as a recycler, also the XRF and especially the Vanta is a great asset for a few reasons. The first thing is that you can sort and consolidate specified mix of material. If you want to sort low-grade material or high-grade material on one side, you can give a quick shot of X-ray, and then it will give you the answer if you want to gather specified mix of material. You can predict your potential profit quickly if you have the ability internally to do a proper sampling. Then you have a representative sample of the material that you've processed, and that will give you the ability by using XRF technology to give you a good idea of the material that you've processed, and then the profits that you're gonna get when you ship your material to your buyer or your smelter, your refineries. And then if you can do it for yourself, you can also do it for your suppliers. You can offer them advanced payment services by making an XRF analysis on the material that you process for them. Then on this section, Vincent, I'll let you introduce what's X-ray fluorescence technology.
So before we move on to the next section, I would like to launch a poll for everyone. Okay. So over here we have a poll. So I want to find out in the audience over here whether are you guys a car catalyst collector, recycler, or smelter. Okay, so smelter itself, it can be a refiner as well, or processor as well, as what Maxime has discussed earlier during his section 2 of the presentation. Okay, I'll leave it for another 20 to 30 seconds for everyone to enter in their results. Okay, I'll end the poll right now. Thank you, everyone, for participating in the poll. Okay, so moving on. Okay, I will start to talk about a little bit more on what portable XRF can be used for car catalytic recycling. Okay, I'll start off by talking about the technology. Okay, so what is XRF? Okay, XRF stands for X-ray fluorescence. Okay, so what happens over here is X-ray will be generated from the X-ray tube itself. So it will kick out the innermost electron over here, as you can see. Okay, the electron nearest to it will replace the one that is being kicked out. Okay, so when this process happens, a unique fluorescent energy is given out. and our detector will actually capture this unique fluorescent energy. Then we will process the data and it will be generated as a result. So you will be able to see what are the elemental concentration of the elements that you're looking at. Okay, so with this as well, every element in the periodic table has its own unique fluorescent energy. And this is how we separate the elements that is in your sample. Okay, so it's a very, very simple technology. Okay. So in terms of car catalyst itself, there are a few stages, and it depends on the quality of the results that you are looking at. Okay, so it can be a very quick screening of the honeycomb. So of course, by screening the honeycomb, as Maxime mentioned earlier, the honeycomb is not homogeneous. So to a certain level, by doing a screening just on the honeycomb without any sample prep, you will only give you an indication of whether the PGMs are present and at what types of level. So if you are looking at a more precise and accurate data, further sample prep has to be done. Okay, so but as I mentioned, if you're just getting a very quick yes or no answer, you can directly test on the honeycomb without doing any sample prep as well. Okay, so as mentioned, if you are looking at a slightly more accurate data, or you want to have a more homogeneous sample, you can also try to crush the monolith. So as you can see in the photos over here, so it can be still bits and pieces of the monolith itself. It doesn't have to go all the way down to powderize. But as I say, this will still impact the quality of data that you are getting. Okay, so after you get the rough level of PGMs in the catalyst, EcoTrade Group has a calculator as well that you can use on their site to determine what is the rough estimate cost, or how much can you sell the car catalyst for. Okay, so all these are available on their website as well. So if you're looking for the most accurate way of analyzing the powder with the XRF, definitely it is by grinding, homogenizing it, drying, sieving, and pressing it into a soy cup, as you can see over here. Okay, so it must be a powder, and then you must mix the sample well so that the sample will be homogeneous. Then you can actually mount our Vanta in this workstation that you can see over here. So this is an optional accessory, and you can always connect it to a PC and use the PC to do the analysis. Okay, so over here you will be able to have a more accurate and representative data over here. Okay, and a lot of times in the industry, people do use a cheaper grinder such as a chain mill to do some of the processing itself. Okay. So some of the advantages of the handheld or handheld XRF is that number one, it is rugged, affordable. It's adapted for field work, so you can get on-site, and then you can do on-site analysis and get a result immediately. Okay, it's low maintenance cost, so it has been drop tested, so it passed a military 4-foot drop test. It is IP55 rated as well, and it comes with a 3 years warranty with the model that you are seeing over here. Okay, so it's very easy to use. So it has a very intuitive software like a smartphone. So it's very user friendly. It's just simple swipe, tap, flick. So as long as you know how to use a smartphone, limited training is required. You can even use the equipment immediately after you get it. Okay. Lastly, it's fast, accurate, and has very good analytical performance. So as I mentioned earlier, you can do a rapid screening, make real-time decision, and also minimize random lab testing. So you do not need to send every single samples to the lab. So it could be that you are sending 10 samples, and out of 10 samples, only 3 contains PGM. So now with the XRF itself, you can actually just do a quick screening on all 10 samples and maybe decide that, oh, maybe 5 of them doesn't have PGMs. So I do not need to send them to the lab and save some money from lab testing. And also for Olympus, we do have a specialized calibration for the car catalyst industry. Okay. So over here, we did spend a lot of effort in building up a good car catalyst method. So over here you can see that we do cover from low ranges all the way to slightly higher ranges as well. So these are the correlation between our XRF and the ICP or fire assay result. Okay. So you can see we do have a very good correlation for all the three precious metal: platinum, rhodium, and palladium. Okay. So with this, customers and users will be able to have a good result or a more accurate result when you're using our method. Okay. So before I move on to the last section, I would like to have another poll. Okay. So give me a minute. So over here, I want to understand a little bit on whether are you guys using any portable XRF at the moment. So probably you can just share and click yes or no. Okay, thank you everyone. So at the last part of the webinar itself, Maxime is going to share with us some of the examples and some of the practical uses of Vanta that he has been doing in his company. So he will share some knowledge with everyone and also share some of the unique features of the Vanta that assist him to make his process more efficient. Maxime, please.
Yes, that's right. So why do we really like Olympus Vanta at EcoTrade and how to make the most of it? This is what I'm going to talk in this section. So what we really like is that we really like UX at EcoTrade, and the user experience is definitely the best in the industry. You can customize the display of the screen if you want to. Of course, put a PGM at first. You can rank it in the order you want, and you can display some other elements if needed. This is one good thing. The user factors is a very interesting features that have several applications, but I'm going to talk about two. The first thing is that you can customize the calibration by user. So let's say you have a specific calibration for your lab analyst and a specified calibration for your purchase team. This is something that you can do. So the first use, for instance, is that the car catalyst calibration of Olympus is very good. It has been improved within time, within experience. But if you want to improve it even more, you can do what's called a linear regression within time by comparing the XRF result of a sample with the ICP or fire assay of the same sample. And you can compare this data within time, and you can adjust the calibration of your device, because some markets are maybe more diesel driven. Some markets are more platinum, palladium driven, and you can optimize to the best by doing this. This is one thing. Another use of the user factor is that you can be more cautious when you buy a powder in the street, for instance, and adjust the proposal that will make your sales team accordingly. This is another use. A third good thing for Olympus device is the pseudo elements. So you can actually display the buying price on the screen so you need to update the PGM prices every day if you want to get an accurate buying price, but this is something that can be configured easily and will show the buying price per kilo directly on the screen, so that you can show your seller, for instance, the buying proposal that you would offer. Another good feature is that you can adjust the levels of access and set different permissions. Let's say you want to give more permissions to your lab analyst and less permission to your purchase team. This is something that can be done easily in the system. And finally, another good thing is that you can check other chemicals. I've seen that there is a significant amount of recyclers in our audience today. The first thing that you want to know is the PGM content of your material. But you know that in this industry, sometimes you may come across contaminated material because there are people that may intend to sell contaminated material, for instance, or material that has been contaminated without by accident. But the device allows you to check, for instance, if the material is contaminated with lead, with chlorine, or something like that. This is something that we have experienced in the past at EcoTrade, and we are very careful. So the Olympus Vanta will allows you to set up maybe some threshold content for light elements, and you'll get like an alert if these elements are too high. Right. So I think we've covered most of the features that are very nice for the industry.
So aside from what Maxime has mentioned about the checking of other chemicals as well, so with the car catalyst method itself, it's not only restricted to the 3 PGMs, platinum, palladium, and rhodium. So you are able to cover at least 20-something to 30-something elements as well. So like what Maxime has mentioned, lead and chlorine is very particular, especially if you're selling to refiner. So if the refiner or the smelter finds out that it's contaminated, yeah, they are not going to accept this car catalyst, and
yeah,
they're going to
that
reject it. Yeah, and also there are other elements as well that sometimes people might add it in to create some interference with the XRF result. So some of the things we are looking at can be like tantalum and cerium, selenium as well. So people add them intentionally into the sample so to confuse the equipment. But with our equipment, if you do, and these are elements that are not commonly found in car catalysts. So if you do come across these elements in the result itself, is something that you want to take more cautious about, and probably want to look more into the analysis of the sample to really determine what are the concentration of the PGMs. Okay.
Okay. I think we're good to start the Q&A session, Vincent. What do you think?
Yeah, sure. Let's start the. I hope everyone I hope that everyone have a good understanding of the car catalyst industry, and Maxime over here, he has the expert in this field and been in this field for over 10 years. So he knows the business very well. So if you guys do have any questions you would like to chat with us, you can enter it in the Q&A section, or I do see some of the questions coming in from the chat box as well. So Maxime, we have a question for you. Are car catalysts always coated with PGMs? Then, because only in that case we can check them without crushing.
Yeah, well, no, they are not always coated with PGMs. From our experiences, maybe about 95%. But like OEM are usually coated with PGMs. OEM are the one that you'll find on the car when it's a brand new car. But aftermarket are not always coated with PGM, and sometimes like very low content of PGMs. And even though sometimes you can come across ceramic catalyst or DPF without any content. I was giving the example previously of DPF from Peugeot Citroën in Europe. As far as I know, all the DPF or most of the DPF from Peugeot Citroën manufactured in Europe are not coated with PGMs. And there are other examples, I don't have them in mind, but this is why it's important to check if the material is coated or not, because if you add this material to your collection, then not only it's going to decrease the average ppm concentration of your lots, but it's going to be like an additional cost for you. So you may want to separate this this uncoated material. I think there is, What do you mean by specialized calibration for catalyst industry? Maybe you can answer on this, Vincent.
Sure. So what I was talking about just now is that for Olympus, we actually work with several big car catalyst customers. So we were able to gather samples from them to incorporate it into our calibration. So as you know, for XRF technology itself, that elemental interference do occur. So in order to have a very robust calibration itself, we actually gathered many different types of car catalyst material from different customers, and then we incorporate them into the calibration, so that by having this customized calibration by Olympus, you will get a fairly accurate result out of the box for the equipment. And in cases whereby for special car catalyst material, as what Maxime mentioned earlier, you can and you're allowed to do your own user calibration to make your results more accurate. Okay, so in terms of calibration wise, Olympus, we are very flexible, and we do allow our customers to create their own calibration to cater for the interference. Okay.
Right. And to add a bit on this topic, so if you use the device for a certain period of time, and you always compare your sample, your XRF sample analysis with laboratories, for instance, like ICP, fire assay, then you can get a very, very good XRF analysis within time by improving the calibration, and you can get a result as close as 98-99% sometimes, depending on the type of material that you're used to collect on your market, but you can have very accurate XRF results if you improve the calibration with your own data.
Yeah, and as Maxime mentioned, in the future, you guys can even build your own catalogs, like what EcoTrade has done as well, to further to help out on how you guys want to categorize the catalysts that you have. Okay, so Maxime, we have a question for you. What is your experience on the reliability of analysis result of each type of catalyst based on their different substrate?
Like on when it comes to ceramic, DPF, or metallic?
Yep.
Okay, well, it really depends. So it's usually better to analyze ceramic catalyst. The accuracy is much better with XRF technology, but it also works with DPF. The important thing is that you need, of course, you need to do a proper sampling, like you presented before, Vincent. The sampling needs to be nicely done. There are different technology in the industry, but like by doing a chain milling with proper divisions and proper sieving, sampling, that's important. But when it comes to DPF, you may want to do a specific calibration using the user factor of the device. You may want to compare the data with ICP and fire assay to improve the calibration of the device for DPF. And when it comes to metallic, well, it depends. There are different solutions. There are different solutions in the industry depending on how accurate you want the analysis to be. If you manage to process the metallic itself by getting the wash code from the metallic, or if you want to assay the metallic directly, which is quite challenging. But I would say in terms of accuracy, the best it's the best for ceramic. It also works for DPF, but I encourage to set up your own calibration with your own data to be even more accurate.
Yep, and I think the other question that adds on to this is that we have a question about whether different mode of analysis is needed for each type of car catalyst. I think Maxime has answered that question earlier. So with the equipment itself, out of the box, it probably give you a fairly accurate result. But as Maxime mentioned, if you want to make it even more accurate, or sometimes you do see that there might be some discrepancy between the ICP and XRF, this is where you can actually create your own user factors as well to account for this and to do a correction for this. So you can even, if you want, you can even create a user factor for DPFs. You can even create a user calibration specifically for metal foil. So, or you can even one for ceramic. So it's up to you guys. If you want to have it's very flexible. You can do it if you want, but out of the box, the equipment has a fairly good accuracy as well. Okay, so there's a question. Can you elaborate on the method C2 Vanta C series 2 beam catalyst calibration? Okay, so with the car catalyst method that we have for and we shown in this webinar itself, this is actually our middle range. So for the middle range itself, with the different models, it comes with different capabilities. So when you see this C2 or car catalyst 2, it means that there are two different beam conditions. So with this itself, it is able to measure light elements like what Maxime was sharing just now. So light elements like things like silicon, aluminum, phosphorus, sulfur, which can be very important when we are looking at the car catalyst itself. So I mean, the amount of silica will tell you that whether the amount of silicon carbide or what kind of car catalyst could be. So with the capability of this, customers now are able to identify the light elements as well that will play a part in the car catalyst recycling. Maxime, anything you want to add on regarding the capability of measuring light elements?
No, I think nothing to add, especially on this.
Okay, yeah, so and especially with things like it's not only limited to silicon, aluminum, it can be phosphorus, sulfur, and chlorine even. So these are some of the elements that sometimes refiners or smelters do look at as well, and it's particularly important. So with this two beam, it actually gives us a better identification of the car catalyst itself. And with that, we can get an even more accurate reading.
Yeah, it's just that if there is some if you buy contaminated material and you don't spot it in the first place, then it can make you lose a lot of money because material will be rejected by the smelter of the refineries because it doesn't comply with regulations. Also, it can be harmful for your staff, like you can expose them to some chemicals. So this is something that is quite important because in this industry there are some malicious people sometimes. It does not happen often, but you want to know it if it does happen. If you are buying like large quantity of material and that there is some other chemical in it.
Yep, especially like what Maxine mentioned just now about the lead contamination. If there are lead in the car catalyst, and if no one knows and it continues to process for refining, and lead at high heat, it will become a vapor, and lead vapor is actually toxic to us. So it's very dangerous, and that's why many of us have look in this industry, and we see that there are such requirements. That's why this is a specialized calibration that Olympus has put together for this specific application and industry. Okay. How close are the results of the elements on the Vanta compared to lab tests? I would say that Maxime, probably you have a lot of experience with that.
Yeah, well, it really depends. I mean, on the territory and on the kind of material that you're collecting. But from our experience, it's very hard to say. It's very hard to say. I think 95% is maybe an average. Sometimes it can be better. Sometimes it can be a little bit lower on some other. I mean, it really depends. But the most important thing is that you need to think that your sampling needs to be accurate. If you do a nice sampling and your sample is very representative, your margin error is going to be much lower. So yeah, I mean, it's very hard to give a strict answer on this because it really depends.
And to add on to that, especially, I mean, at the end of the day, there are times, as I mentioned just now, that different type of material or the matrix might cause some interference as well. So these are also special cases that might happen. But generally, out of the box, I think that it's actually giving you a fairly accurate data. Okay. So any more questions? So if there's no more questions, or if in the future you do have any questions as well, we will be sending out a thank you email. So if you have any questions, or if you would like to see a demo, there'll be a request for demo button that you can click on. Then an Olympus representative will actually contact you to discuss further on some of the questions that you have, and also we can even do an online demo or a live demo itself. Okay. Then for those who have joined late or missed the session, we will also be sending a recording for you guys to take a look at this webinar itself. Okay. Last question. So Maxime, can we test the DPFs the same ways as others? Any special calibration needed?
Yeah. Well, generally speaking, you don't need to. If you want to test a specific DPF, so like we're talking about a piece, one DPF, you don't need to do that. But if you want to improve the calibration, you can use the user factor and compare your XRF and create like your own calibration for DPF, duplicating the one that you have for ceramic and using it for DPF, and improving it within time by comparing XRF value, Vanta XRF value, and ICP chemical assay of the same sample. So to answer your question, is there any special calibration needed? I said, generally speaking, no. You can get fairly accurate result, but by not doing so. But it's always a matter of how demanding your analysis wants to be. If you want to improve it, yes, you can set up a special one.
And also that we have another last question, which is material with low ppm, like 100 ppm or less, can it be done? Our answer is that it can be done. So with Olympus itself, the Vanta models, we do have different range of models. So with our highest end M series, you will be able to get good readings below 100 ppm as well. So it really depends on the level of accuracy and the limit of detection that you're looking at. Then we will recommend you the respective models for it. Okay. If not, thank you everyone for joining this webinar. And as I mentioned, we will be sending out another thank you email. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact us, and also feel free to contact us for any demo if you want. Okay. Thank you everyone. Have a good day ahead.
Thank you everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks, Maxim.